The birthday balloon was still floating near the ceiling, half deflated, turning slowly like it was judging me. Across the room, the guy was laughing. Too loud. Too familiar. Sitting on my couch, drinking my whiskey. His shoes were still wet from the rain, leaving little ghost prints on the hardwood floor. She didn't care. She laughed with him. I was holding the plastic knife. You know, the one you get with cheap store-bought cake. The one that snaps if you press too hard. I wasn't thinking anything violent. I was just trying to figure out when I became the extra in my own life. There were 17 people in the apartment. Only 2 of them looked at me the entire night. One asked where the bathroom was. The other thought I was the DJ. She never introduced me. Someone asked, "So how do you know the birthday boy?" I blinked. "I am the birthday boy," I said. He laughed like I was joking. She didn't correct him. I wanted to walk out right then. I should have. But I waited. I waited like an idiot for some kind of signal, a candle, a surprise, a toast. Anything to show that this wasn't what it looked like. But it was what it looked like. He opened his gift from her. A leather-bound sketchbook. She doesn't even know how to spell congratulations without autocorrect, but she wrote him a full page on the inside cover, in cursive. I didn't even get a card. Not even a happy B-day text. She said it was a coincidence. That they just happened to celebrate his birthday the same night. That she thought it would be fun to combine it. When I finally asked her, later, after everyone left, after she said goodnight to him at the door a little too slowly, she looked at me like I was being childish. "You're overthinking it," she said. "You always do this on your birthday." But last year, she made pancakes shaped like hearts. The year before that, she took me stargazing. This year, she gave another man a party. So yeah, maybe I am overthinking. But I also know what I saw. And what I saw was the beginning of the end. That night, after the party ended and she went to sleep with her back turned to me, I sat in the dark living room and just listened. Not for sounds. There were none, but for something else. A feeling, maybe. A reason. Anything that would make what just happened feel less humiliating. The apartment still smelled like her perfume and someone else's cologne. His, probably. I never wore cologne. She used to say she liked that I smelled like soap and paper, like someone who belonged in her quiet life. I used to believe her. At 3:41 a.m., her phone buzzed on the coffee table. Just once. No ringtone. Just that soft vibration you can feel more than hear. She was dead asleep. I wasn't. I glanced at the screen and saw something that made my blood stop moving. Voice message from Eli. Eli. That name again. The same one she'd accidentally said during the toast. The same name I saw scratched faintly into the bathroom mirror earlier, like someone had written it with a fingertip while the glass was fogged and didn't bother to wipe it off. I stared at the notification until it disappeared. Then I picked up her phone. It wasn't locked. She used to be proud of that. "I have nothing to hide," she'd say. But I don't think that's what it meant anymore. Now I think she just didn't care if I saw. Or maybe she wanted me to. The voice message was still there. 22 seconds long. I opened it. "Hey, I just wanted to say tonight meant a lot. You were incredible. Honestly, you're the only reason I even made it through this week. You have no idea what that did for me. Happy birthday again. I'll be thinking about you all night." That last part. That stupid last line. "I'll be thinking about you all night." I didn't even realize I was gripping the edge of the table until I heard it creak. She stirred in the bedroom, rolled over, mumbled something that might have been my name or maybe his. I didn't want to know. I put the phone back exactly how I found it. I sat there for another 2 hours, staring at the hallway like she might come out and explain everything, tell me I misunderstood. But she didn't. She just slept like people do when they have no idea someone else in the same apartment is unraveling. By morning, I couldn't pretend anymore. I made coffee. She came out in one of my shirts and kissed me like nothing happened. Like she hadn't thrown another man a party in my living room. Like she hadn't ignored my birthday and whispered things to someone else on the side. "You okay?" she asked. I lied. "Yeah." Because what else could I say? "I heard everything. I know you're not mine anymore." No, not yet. I needed more than a voice message. I needed proof. So that morning, after she left to run errands, I did something I've never done before. I followed her. What I saw in that parking garage is something I'm still trying to unsee. She said she needed to pick up wine. That was her excuse. It was 9:17 a.m. on a Wednesday, and she needed wine. I almost laughed, but I just nodded, playing along with the version of myself she apparently thought was still asleep. She wore jeans and a hoodie that wasn't hers, a deep green one I'd never seen before. It was baggy, like it belonged to someone taller. Thicker. She didn't take her purse. Just her phone, her keys, and a face I hadn't seen in years. The one she used to wear when we were still new, still dangerous, still lying to other people just to be together. She looked excited, nervous, alive. I waited exactly 90 seconds after the door shut before I followed. No shoes, just socks. I slipped on my slides and grabbed my coat. I didn't even think about what I'd say if I got caught. I just moved like I was watching myself in a bad dream. Every step down the stairwell felt like stepping into deeper water. I heard her car start from the alley. The taillights blinked once. Then it pulled away. I didn't have a plan. I just got in my car and followed. Far enough to be invisible, close enough to catch her if she turned suddenly. My heart was pounding, but not fast. It was slow and heavy, like it knew something I didn't. She drove across town, past the liquor store, past the lake. She didn't even glance at the places we used to love. She pulled into a multi-level parking garage downtown, the kind with cold fluorescent lighting and numbers painted onto concrete columns. She parked on level 3, near the elevator. I parked 2 rows back, behind a van. My hands were shaking by the time I cracked my window. She didn't see me, but I saw him. He was already waiting. Hoodie, ball cap, aviators, even though we were underground. He looked like a discount spy, but she lit up when she saw him. Not like someone seeing an affair partner. No, like someone seeing their first real shot at freedom. They didn't kiss. Not right away. She walked up fast, said something I couldn't hear, then reached up and placed her hand gently, almost protectively, on the middle of his chest. Not playful, not flirty, intimate. The kind of touch that doesn't need to prove anything. That 1 second, her hand on his chest, burned into me like acid. She never touched me like that anymore. Not even in private. Especially not in public. I'd become the man she loved quietly, with obligation. He was the one she loved out loud. They got into his car. I didn't follow them after that. I didn't need to. I just sat in my own car, staring at the space where they'd been, realizing I hadn't actually lost her just now. I'd lost her months ago. Maybe longer. I stayed there for a long time. At some point, a security guard tapped on my window and asked if I was okay. I told him I was waiting for someone. He gave me a look that said I know a lie when I hear one, but he let me be. She got home around 12:30. She brought in 2 grocery bags with exactly 1 bottle of wine, a lemon, and a baguette sticking out like a postcard cliché. They were out of the Merlot you like, she said casually, placing everything on the counter like she hadn't just disappeared into another life for 3 hours. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her and shake the truth loose. But all I said was, that's okay. Because I knew something she didn't. Her car has a dash cam. It was a gift from my brother last year, after someone sideswiped her in a parking lot. She never checks it, never thinks about it. But I do. And that night, when she fell asleep again with her back to me, I went to the garage, plugged the cam into my laptop, and watched. What I saw in that footage wasn't just betrayal. It was her face. Her real face. The one she used to save only for me. And then she said something on camera I can't stop replaying. Not even now. The dashcam footage wasn't good. The audio crackled like a radio caught between stations, and the angle was just a wide shot of the parking garage in grim grayscale. But it didn't matter. It was enough. Enough to see the way she smiled at him when she thought no one was watching. Not the I love you kind of smile, worse. The I'm finally myself kind. It was so natural, so effortless, like she'd just taken off a heavy coat she didn't even realize she'd been wearing. I sat in the dark garage, the laptop open on my knees, the dashcam card still warm in my hand. I watched the entire interaction twice. 3 times. 4. Then I noticed something on the 4th pass. A gesture I hadn't caught the first time. She reached into his coat pocket like she'd done it 100 times before. Not fumbling. Not asking. She just knew. She pulled out a keycard. Slim, white, branded with a logo I didn't recognize. He laughed. She whispered something too soft for the mic. Then she mouthed something. I couldn't hear it, but I could read her lips. She called him by my name. Not Eli. Jonas. My name. I paused the video. Rewound. Played that second again. Slower. Same result. Her mouth formed those exact syllables, so naturally it made my stomach twist. For a second, I questioned everything. Was I crazy? Was this some kind of sick roleplay? A game between them? Then it hit me. It wasn't a game. She was lying to him too. It wasn't just betrayal. It was replication. She wasn't starting a new life. She was copy-pasting me into someone else's arms. My name, my smile, my habits. She was giving him the version of me she missed, or maybe the one I never was to begin with. And yet, she still came home to me. Still said, "Love you," before bed. Still curled her legs behind mine like we were 16 again. But it wasn't real. It was just muscle memory. I was the habit. He was the high. I sat there, completely still, and for the first time in my life I didn't cry. Not out of pride. Just emptiness. Like there was nothing left to leak out. I thought about confronting her. I thought about printing stills from the video and leaving them on the kitchen table with a sticky note that said, "Explain this." But I didn't. Because I still didn't understand one thing. Why the hell did she use my name? The next morning, I waited until she left for yoga, or yoga, whatever that meant now, and I opened her laptop. I knew her password. She changed it every 6 months, but always based it on the same phrase. Monday again, followed by the year. Easy. It took me less than 20 seconds to get in. Her browser history was mostly clean. Suspiciously so, as if she'd recently cleared it. But she didn't know about the backups. The autofill cache. The synced bookmarks. She wasn't tech-savvy like me. That's when I found it. A Google search, hidden in a sync tab she probably forgot existed. The phrase read, "How to help someone forget their wife." I stared at it for a long time. I thought maybe she was looking it up for a friend, or maybe it was from an old Reddit thread she'd read out of curiosity. But no, it was hers. Logged in under her name. And right underneath that search, another query. Symptoms of short-term memory trauma in men. Suddenly, my head was buzzing. It felt like the air had been replaced with static. I closed the laptop, but the words were still burned into my mind. Forget their wife? Memory trauma? What was she doing? I checked the date on the search. It was from 2 months ago, right around the time I'd had that fall. The one she said was just a scare. I'd slipped coming out of the shower. Hit my head on the sink. I remember the blood. The dizziness. The way she insisted I didn't need a hospital. "You were only out for a minute," she said. But now I wasn't so sure. I opened my Photos app. I started scrolling back, looking at old pictures, trying to remember where I'd been, who I'd seen. And that's when I noticed something strange. There were entire weeks missing from my camera roll. Whole stretches of time where nothing had been saved, nothing documented. I was a guy who took pictures of everything. Receipts, cloud formations, the way the cats curled together like puzzle pieces. But suddenly, nothing. Gaps. Blackouts. I thought I was tracking her lies. But what if I was the one being lied to about my own life? I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I just sat on the edge of the bed watching her breathe, one arm curled under the pillow, her hair a soft mess across her cheek, like nothing in the world could touch her. Like she wasn't the reason I felt like I was unraveling from the inside out. I wondered if she knew I knew. If she was just waiting for me to break first, to ask the wrong question, to come at her without enough evidence so she could twist it into another one of my episodes. That's what she called them, sometimes, your episodes. Like I was some malfunctioning machine. But I wasn't malfunctioning. I was waking up. In the morning, while she was in the shower, I went back to the bookshelf. Not for any reason. Not logically. Just instinct. We kept a shoebox tucked behind the third row of books. Old receipts, warranty cards, some travel photos, random documents we never filed properly. I'd forgotten it existed until I saw one of the books on the shelf slightly out of alignment, and something about that bothered me more than it should have. I pulled the box down and set it on the kitchen table. Inside was nothing special. Expired coupons, a few birthday cards, old vet bills. But then I found a folded piece of lined paper with a coffee stain in the corner, and my name written across the front, Jonas, in my own handwriting. Only, I didn't remember writing it. My chest went cold. I unfolded it slowly. The pen was the same kind I always use, fine-tip black Pilot G2, but the ink had smudged slightly, like someone had folded it too soon after writing. The message was short. If you're reading this, that means it started again. Don't trust her. Don't tell her what you remember. Check the basement shelf behind the paint cans. And Jonas, don't let her touch you again until you know the truth. My vision narrowed. The world felt small and loud. I looked toward the bathroom, where the water was still running, then back at the note in my hand. I whispered it out loud like it might mean something different if I heard it in my own voice. It didn't. I was scared. Not the kind of fear you feel when someone breaks into your car or you lose your wallet. This was a different kind of fear, like realizing the floor you've been standing on for years isn't real, that it was just paper painted to look like tile. And now it was crumbling. I had to see what was behind the paint cans. I waited until she left for her supposed chiropractor appointment, which I no longer believed for a second, and then I went down to the basement. It was cold, smelled like earth and old water. We rarely went down there except to reset the breaker or dig out winter clothes. The shelves were still covered in dust. Behind the third row of paint cans, wedged awkwardly against the wall, was a small black box I didn't recognize. It was locked with a tiny padlock, but the kind you could snap with a pair of pliers. And that's exactly what I did. Inside were three things. A USB flash drive labeled "Do Not Plug in Here." A photo of me, at least I thought it was me, standing beside a woman who wasn't Mariel, but looked hauntingly like her. Her face blurred slightly, like the picture had been taken mid-movement. A folded piece of paper with a list of dates and a single phrase written underneath. How many times has she done this? My breath caught. My heart was pounding in my ears. I dropped the paper and stumbled back like it had burned me. I didn't know what it meant, not yet, but something inside me did. Something I hadn't let surface until now. A voice that had been screaming in my subconscious for weeks. This wasn't about cheating. This wasn't even about love. This was about control, manipulation, memory. The kind of thing people don't talk about in public because it sounds insane. Because it is insane. But what if it's true? When she came home, she kissed me on the cheek and asked if I wanted Thai for dinner. I said yes. Smiled. Watched her move around the kitchen like she hadn't just shattered my concept of reality. Because now I knew something she didn't know I knew. And for the first time since this all began, I smiled for real. I didn't plug it into my laptop. That much, at least, I understood. The USB drive sat on my desk for a full day before I even touched it again. I couldn't stop thinking about what kind of warning "Do not plug in here" was supposed to be. Who was it written for? Me? Someone else? Was it literal, like it would trigger something? Overwrite my system, fry the memory? Or was it symbolic, a message to past me from future me, left behind like a breadcrumb in a forest full of wolves? I didn't want to take chances. I bought a cheap burner laptop from a pawn shop across town, paid in cash. The guy behind the counter didn't even ask questions, just rang it up and handed me the box like this sort of transaction was normal. Maybe it was. That night, I drove out to a 24-hour laundromat on the edge of the city, somewhere anonymous. Bright enough to feel safe, but dead enough not to attract attention. I parked in the far corner of the lot, opened the laptop, and powered it on. No Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, nothing that could broadcast a signal. Just me, the computer, and that thin little rectangle of metal and secrets. The USB was heavier than it looked. When I plugged it in, the drive mounted immediately. No password, no encryption, just a single folder. Reset_protocol. My hands were shaking. Inside were 4 files. Video_entry. MOV. Memo. TXT. Phases_diagram. PNG. Recording_7. MP3. I clicked the memo first. It was short. Just a few lines. If you're reading this, you've either remembered too much or forgotten too little. This protocol exists to interrupt the cycle. Do not trust appearances. Do not confront her directly. Observe. Collect. If phase 3 has been triggered, follow instructions in the diagram. End transmission. No name. No sign-off. No dates. Just cold precision. I moved to the diagram next. It was a low-res PNG, clearly a photo of a whiteboard taken in a rush. Scribbled flowcharts, arrows, conditions. At the center, a phrase boxed in red marker. Memory degradation is not equal to forgetting. IT equals rewriting. And beneath it, 3 chilling words. He thinks he's real. I didn't want to think about what that meant yet. Instead, I opened the video. It was glitchy, low-lit, like footage from an old camcorder, grainy and distorted around the edges. The camera was pointed at a desk in what looked like a hotel room. There was a man sitting in the frame. Slouched. Pale. Eyes bloodshot. He looked familiar in a way that made my stomach flip. Because it was me. Or at least it looked like me. He leaned forward and spoke directly to the lens. Jonas, if you're seeing this, that means I couldn't finish the loop. Something went wrong. Maybe she caught on. Maybe I didn't leave enough signs. Or maybe it's already too late. You've probably found the note. You've probably started remembering the basement, the wine bottle, the notebook. But here's the thing you don't know yet. You're not the first version. She's done this before. He paused, rubbed his face like a man haunted by something older than guilt. There's a reset built into the cycle, a neurological reroute. Every time you get close, she trips it. With the perfume, with the pills, with sex, if she has to. She's trying to keep you inside a script. She needs you to believe you're the one going crazy. But you're not. You're not crazy. You're just starting to remember. And if you remember everything. The screen glitched. Hard. Froze for a second. When it resumed, he was closer. The drive can't stay in one place for too long. If she finds it, she'll destroy it. Or worse, she'll rewrite it. Hide this. Move it. Watch your back. If she offers tea, say no. I think that's when it begins. The video ended with a burst of static. I sat frozen for a long time. I wanted to laugh, to scream, to snap the drive in half and toss it out the window. But part of me couldn't deny what I'd seen. Not anymore. Not with how precisely it mirrored the gaps in my memory, the flickers of déjà vu, the strange moments where I felt like I'd already lived this before. And then I remembered something. A detail I hadn't connected until just now. Last week, Mariel had asked if I wanted tea. She never makes tea. And for 2 days after that, I remember nothing. I stopped drinking anything she offered me. Coffee, tea, wine, even water, unless I poured it myself. I started pretending to sip and pouring it down the sink when she wasn't looking. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did, and just didn't care anymore. The performance was cracking on both sides, but neither of us dropped the act. I smiled at her in the morning. She kissed me goodnight. We moved through our routine like two actors who forgot how the play ends, but refused to leave the stage. She'd started humming again, little melodies under her breath when she thought I wasn't listening. Familiar, but not quite. Like nursery rhymes played backward. One of them made my nose bleed. That was the night I decided to record her while she slept. I didn't want to be that person, creeping around with hidden mics and backup drives. But I wasn't really a person anymore, was I? Not in the traditional sense. I was an echo of something. A version. A backup maybe. And I needed answers that logic couldn't give me. So I set the recorder under the bed. Tiny. Battery-powered. No lights. She'd never find it. The first night gave me nothing. Just rustling. A few sighs. The soft chime of her phone as she got a text at 2:12 a.m. and didn't respond. I let it go. I needed more. The second night was different. It started around 3:07 a.m. I was already awake, staring at the ceiling, counting backwards from 1,000 just to keep my thoughts quiet. She shifted beside me, turned over slowly, and mumbled something. I couldn't hear it clearly in real time, but when I played the audio the next morning, I nearly dropped my phone. She said my name. Twice. But not like she was calling me. More like she was reporting in. Jonas is stable. Loop 5 holding. No flashes. Memory drift minimal. He's still dreaming about the lake. I paused the audio. Rewound. Played it again. The exact same words. Clear as a bell. Her voice was flat. No emotion. No sleep slur. She didn't sound unconscious. She sounded like someone reading from a script. I scrolled forward in the recording. 10 minutes later, there was another phrase. Adjust dosage in tea. Increase tactile reminders. Reinforce seasonal anchors. Seasonal anchors? I didn't know what that meant. Not then. But I would. It wasn't until the fourth playback that I caught the faint click. A soft digital sound, like the ending of a call. Then silence. She was talking to someone. Not just mumbling to herself. Calling someone. In her sleep. I didn't sleep at all the next night. Instead, I moved quietly through the house while she was out. Not searching, just observing. Like the note had told me. Observe. Collect. Don't confront. I took photos of the medicine labels in the bathroom. Most were hers, but one tiny bottle had no prescription, no pharmacy branding. Just a white label with black text. Sublingual protocol. 5 drops / 48-hour cycle. I never noticed her giving me anything like that. But I remembered the wine. The cough syrup when I was sick. The mouth spray she offered once during a road trip when she said my breath smelled a little wild. I didn't think anything of it then. Who would? I checked the trash. Nothing unusual. But in the back of the freezer, behind the frozen peas we never eat, I found a vial in a Ziploc bag. Dark blue liquid. No markings. I didn't touch it. I just photographed everything. I started leaving my phone recording in the bathroom while I showered. And on the 5th morning, I caught her. A short clip, 23 seconds. I was behind the water, half singing some dumb jingle stuck in my head, and she was standing just outside the door, whispering, "We might need to move sooner. He's noticing things. I told you 3 months wasn't enough." Another pause. "No, I didn't touch the drive. If he found it, it's because he left it." He, not me. He. My head spun. Was there another one of me? Were there others? I looked in the mirror that morning and didn't recognize my own eyes. I touched my face like a stranger would. Felt the stubble, the curve of my jaw. I opened my mouth and whispered my name. Jonas. And for the first time, it sounded wrong. Like a name borrowed from someone else's story. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything or wave the recordings in her face. That's what she would have expected. Emotional chaos. A scene she could frame as another episode. Another overreaction from the man who wasn't feeling like himself lately. No, I made breakfast instead. French toast, her favorite. Warm syrup. Fresh strawberries cut into little hearts the way she used to do for me. Back when all of this was real, or at least when I thought it was. I set the table, poured 2 glasses of orange juice, and turned on the soft jazz station she liked on Sunday mornings. She walked in around 9 a.m. Bathrobe, sleepy smile. She looked surprised. "What's all this?" she asked, rubbing one eye. "Just wanted to do something nice," I said. "For us." She sat down, suspicious but polite, and took a bite. I watched her carefully. She didn't know I'd swapped the orange juice glasses. Mine was hers. Hers was mine. If she'd dosed it again, I'd know soon enough. We ate in silence for a while. Then, I asked the question. A simple one. Soft. Casual. "Do you believe people can change?" She blinked. Swallowed. "What do you mean?" "I mean really change. Down to the wiring." She stared at me for a moment, then smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. With time. With patience. With programming." She stopped chewing. I smiled gently. "I remember the lake." Her breath caught. "You used to say," I continued, "that the lake was your favorite place because it was the only place that didn't need improvement. No filters. No edits. Just itself." She didn't speak. I think that's who I was. Before all this. Before the cycles. I was like the lake. But you kept trying to re-landscape it. Add fountains. Clear the reeds. Until it wasn't a lake anymore. Just your version of one. Her hands were trembling slightly. The fork scraped her plate. I pushed my chair back and stood. Walked to the hallway. Pulled the old shoebox out from the shelf. Placed it gently on the table between us. Inside. The drive, the photos, the note in my handwriting. All of it. I watched her face drain of color. "I'm not mad," I said, and meant it. She looked up, eyes wide. "Jonas, No. Don't explain. Not anymore. You had your reasons, whatever they were. You thought you were helping me, or fixing me, or maybe just building your own perfect life out of borrowed people. I don't need to understand it anymore." I walked toward the door and paused, hand on the knob. But I do remember now. Not just the bad stuff. The good too. The little things. The smell of fresh ink. The sound of my brother's laugh. My mom's hands. Always warm even when her voice wasn't. I remember who I am. And it's not a story you get to rewrite. She didn't follow me. She didn't beg. Maybe she knew there was nothing left to say. I stepped outside into the morning light and took my first real breath in what felt like years. It didn't taste like freedom. Not yet. It tasted like air. Like something unfiltered. Something mine. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel erased. I felt real. I don't know what's next. Maybe I'll find others. Maybe there are none. Maybe I was the first, or maybe I was the last. It doesn't matter. I'm not a loop anymore. I'm not a project. I'm not hers. I'm Jonas. And this time, I'm the one writing the ending.